I am not truly free if I am taking away someone else's freedom, just as surely as I am not free when my freedom is taken from me. For to be free is not merely to cast off one's chains, but to live in a way that respects and enhances the freedom of others. Nelson Mandela. Sir, today I rise in support of the motion and add my voice in this chamber to express my sorrow for the loss of innocent lives and the injustice of the cycles of violence, even as the Israel-Palestine crisis rages on. This is a fight in distant lands, but here in Singapore, many feel empathy and distress as the news, photos, and videos fill our social media feeds and our daily consciousness. If you truly engaged with the breadth of society, you will see a range of views and levels of awarenessness. A number of our youth in particular have written to me. They seek an outlet to use their voices to do something, anything. For they cannot unsee the suffering in Gaza. They cannot reconcile it with our life as per normal and our precious peace here. And we cannot sit silent. It is reported that almost half of the Gazan population is aged 18 and under. And we feel for the mothers who have lost their children, for the men who have buried their brothers in mass graves, for the elderly who are too frail to move, and for the children whose normalcy is rubble and dust. These divides arose many years even before the 7th of October and have no easy answer. One might point to a time in history and someone else will go back a few years for a different view. It is hard to find common ground. Yes, there are religious bearings, but there are Christians, Jews, and Muslims on both sides of the border. We cannot ignore the political, historical, land, and security dimensions. There is a lot to unpack, but a few things are clear. First, the growing humanitarian crisis in Gaza needs to be addressed urgently. The Gaza Health Ministry has released figures that thousands have died, even more injured. Refugee camps, hospital areas, and schools have not been spared from airstrikes. The UN Relief Agency, UNRWA, and Committee to Protect Journalists share that 8 workers and media personnel have been killed. Civilians in Gaza were restricted access to food, water, electricity, communications, and aid was prevented from entering. Second, even in a fight, there are rules. International humanitarian law, as set out in the Geneva Conventions and similar treaties, have been forged from the bitter ashes of World War as a practical balance between the security and military requirements of a state and the protection of humans. Yes, sir, we agree that any and all violence and kidnapping of innocent civilians is wrong. But while a state has a right to self-defense, this must be tempered by proportionality. Parties must distinguish between combatants and civilians. And many have asked, is the loss of so many innocent non-military personnel proportionate? When will the collective punishment against the Palestinian people end? Third, both sides must work towards a durable peace with the support of the international community. This is not the first time that violence has broken out, and the result of these prolonged cycles is a gradually reduced confidence and support for a long-lasting two-state solution, according to public polls among both Israeli and Palestinian people. Some wonder, is it even possible now? Can mistrust and injustice turn to peace? Can people in positions of power in Gaza and Israel come to the table to negotiate for peace with open hearts? The international community must direct resources to invest in peace so as to manage tensions at all stages of the conflict curve, involve independent parties with the conviction to see this through, prioritizing local communities before it is too late. Sir, in Malay, please. Krisis di Gaza semakin teruk disebabkan ketegangan yang semakin meningkat. Ramai di serata dunia, termasuk di Singapura, telah tampil merayu agar keganasan dapat dihentikan dengan segera. Selain daripada luahan kata-kata, perkongsian video, dan paparan gambar di rangkaian media sosial, masyarakat Singapura juga telah bersatu untuk bertindak bersama. Kita telah menyaksikan bagaimana warga negara Singapura dari pelbagai lapisan masyarakat telah berganding bahu dalam usaha untuk memberikan bantuan kemanusiaan. Dari membekalkan perkakas-perkakas perubatan bersama Humanity Matters pada 29 Oktober hingga solat hajat bersama yang dianjurkan oleh Pergas dan masjid di serata Singapura, serta kempen pengumpulan dana oleh RLAF yang berjaya mengumpulkan lebih daripada 4.6 juta dalam masa 2 minggu, dan usaha-usaha lain berasaskan masyarakat oleh kumpulan seperti Cendol Kita dan Fat Market yang telah menggunakan platform mereka sendiri untuk menyumbang kepada usaha-usaha setempat. Namun, bantuan kemanusiaan tidak mencukupi untuk memulihkan dan membangunkan semula sebuah rakyat. Untuk mencapai keamanan yang berkekalan bagi semua pihak, penyelesaian jangka panjang harus diusahakan. Di Singapura, kita juga sedar bahawa keharmonian adalah sesuatu yang sukar untuk tercapai dan sangat rapuh kerana ia memerlukan pengorbanan dan persefahaman yang dibina selama berdekad lamanya. Sebagai sebuah negara kecil, kita mesti berpegang teguh kepada integriti dan bersikap pragmatik kerana ini akan menentukan masa depan kita. Di Sidang Persatuan Bangsa-Bangsa Bersatu, Singapura telah menyokong hak rakyat Palestin untuk memiliki tanah air dan penyelesaian dua negara yang dipersetujui kedua belah pihak melalui rundingan. Kita juga telah memberikan undi sokongan kepada Palestin dalam pelbagai resolusi termasuk pada tahun 1967 selepas Perang 6 Hari, pada tahun 1997 dan 2003 menentang Israel berkaitan dengan pembinaan pemukiman Har Homa dan menuntut agar Israel menghentikan pembinaan benteng tebing barat. Dan yang terkini pada 27 Oktober untuk gencatan senjata segera agar bantuan kemanusiaan dapat dihulurkan. Memetik dari ucapan Ketua PBB, kita sedar bahawa serangan Hamas tidak berlaku secara terpencil. Walaupun ramai yang menyebut tentang peristiwa 7 Oktober, kita tetap memperingati penderitaan warga Gaza dari 6 Oktober dan hari-hari yang sebelumnya. Walaupun kita sedar bahawa serangan Hamas pada 7 Oktober di Israel adalah salah, kita terkesan dengan kehilangan nyawa-nyawa di Gaza dan tebing barat dan merasa ketidakadilannya. Tuan, serangan tersebut tidak membenarkan hukuman keseluruhan dikenakan terhadap rakyat Palestin. Ramai warga Singapura termasuk belia kita telah bertanya tentang pandangan pemerintah Singapura terhadap pembunuhan orang awam di Gaza serta tindakan tambahan yang boleh diambil dengan segera oleh pemerintah untuk cuba menghentikan keganasan sebelum terlambat. So, on 27 October at the UN General Assembly, Singapore voted for UN Resolution ES 1021. Our stand is consistent with the principles that are necessary for Singapore's survival. In navigating tensions, we do not unequivocally support one side over another. We advocate for an inclusive, rules-based, multilateral order as a system to have recourse to when necessary. But, sir, even as we have voted in support of resolutions over the years, including for statehood and against illegal settlements, it appears that little progress has been made. We find ourselves in deepening divides with worsening intensities of the violence. What more can be done to enforce the rules which give us order? The government does not act alone in promoting peace and providing humanitarian aid. 2 weeks ago, I and around 100 Singaporeans from all walks of life spent time with Humanity Matters, packing about 8 tons worth of relief supplies to Gaza. A team of 4 has followed the aid to Egypt, donating it to the Palestine Red Crescent, and I pray for their safe return. This is our Singaporean way, not just speaking about harmony during times of peace, but being brave through our differences and rallying together during times of crisis around our common humanity. So when we speak of peace, it's not about the absence of conflict, but what prevails in spite of the differences. Here in Singapore, which has been ranked as one of the most religiously diverse countries in the world, we know this intimately. We each desire the freedom to express our different identities. But this means, in turn, that we are committed to seeing that others with different beliefs can express their identities authentically as well. As an advisor to the recently concluded Harmony Circles Refresh Work Group, together with MOS Alvin Tan, I know that harmony doesn't occur by chance. We work for it every day as a people through compromise and acceptance. And by learning from each other what makes our beliefs so sacred, we treasure the safety of living in peace with others whose beliefs are different from ours, while being united as one Singapore. This peace is made possible in no small part due to the selfless commitment to interfaith harmony from our religious leaders across different faiths. Mutual respect and the willingness of these leaders to stand in solidarity create a quiet but steadfast example. Notably, in the Inter-Religious Organization of Singapore, 10 faiths, such as Buddhism, Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, regularly come together and exchange views. In a world where rhetoric and sound bites go viral on social media, and longer messages run the risk of getting twisted, where popularity is currency and common ground is the first casualty in a fight, it takes courage to stand for peace, conviction to nurture it, even when the position may be hard to swallow. To this end, I am grateful for the discernment and compassion of our faith leaders in society. The exchange of letters between faith leaders in Singapore during times like these demonstrate commitment to protect the precious collective peace that we share. Rabbi Mordecai Abigail and Mufti Dr. Naziruddin Nasir address each other with respect, express condolences and prayers for innocent lives taken unjustly, and have called for a permanent peace. Even as emotions run high, let's not give in to Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, or other forms of discrimination in our places of worship, our schools, our workplaces, and society. So our peace is tested in less obvious ways too, where feelings run so deep that friendships are broken over how and when people choose to use their voice. Peace breaks down when anger consumes and we feel that we cannot communicate. Let us hold space for each other. It is important for us Singaporeans to grow in our ability to seek understanding, step up quickly and communicate in managing a crisis, while always having our nation's interests at our core. In particular, how can we encourage safe outlets for the expression, processing, and validation of emotions, and the promotion of understanding, even when we disagree? How can our leaders at all levels in our communities and places of worship be better equipped to guide on such matters, which have implications on our shores? As the front lines of conflict are increasingly digital, how do we care for, equip, and soothe a society where many spend approximately 7 hours a day online? Sir, this conflict has exposed how untenable the current situation in Israel and Palestine is, and its impact on the rest of the world. In this fractious world, Singapore is a small voice. It is easy to believe that we don't have a stake or that we cannot do much. Our sovereignty and safety are tied to a fair, rules-based world order and a common humanity. In the past few weeks, we have seen the good in humanity as well, with people of all ages, various backgrounds, faiths all over the world, using our voice, some in protest, some in prayer, donations, to converse, to listen, to bear witness to this crisis. We do what we can, and here in this chamber, we understand the desire for statehood and safety of the Palestinians and the Israelis. We use our voices to call for the indiscriminate killing of innocent civilians to end. And I end with a solemn appeal for parties to abide by the humanitarian truce, for an immediate cessation of the violence in Gaza and the West Bank, and for justice to prevail. Thank you, sir.